Talk Shoes. Recorded live.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you may be across the nation or around the world. Once again, you're listening to the VMware Communities Roundtable podcast. This is podcast number 718. My name is Eric Nelson. With me today, I have my regular co-host, Bob Plankers. Today is Wednesday, March 19th, 2025. Bob, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It is a great day. I'm going to do a little bit of spring break next week, so I probably won't be on. But I don't know. How are you, Eric?
I'm doing freaking fantastic because let me tell you, the VMUG Advantage. Yeah, the VMUG Advantage bits went live this morning, and we got people that have passed the VCP-VCF in on the tool, getting their bits. It's super nice. It allows you to request your bits. It puts it pending. You get you purchased your VCF license email from the ops team about an hour later, and then a couple hours later, that your bits show up. It's really nice. So we're live, and all those. I think there's like 50 or 60 people that have passed their VCF. They got Advantage.
I need to do that.
If they're listening, they can go get their bits. Their bits are live as of today, so we're super happy about that. So whatever else happens today, I'm good to go. My month has been made because Brad Tompkins, who's going to be on the show today, he can stop calling me every day going, come on, Nielsen, let's go. Where's those bits?
Make it happen, baby. But you did, Eric. You did. Yeah. So get your bits. Get your bits. I love it.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, it's good. So on the show today, we're going to talk to Miriam Scoble. She's going to drop in for a little bit and talk about Call for Papers that went live. So we've got Marion on the call, and then we have Gene Williams and Brad Tompkins. Gene runs the VMUG program here at VMware by Broadcom, and then we have Brad, who is the managing director of VMUG. I think that's his title, but I'm sure he'll correct me if it's not. So we're going to talk to Brad about VMUG Connect, which is happening in St. Louis. They're going to have testing going on. You can get your VCF certification, get your bits. So we'll talk to Brad, but let's just first give Corey a moment. Anything going on, Corey, that we need to talk about?
Just a couple things for vExpert news. So our first monthly vExpert Knowledge Hour is tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific time. This call is going to be just with introductions, kind of just chatting, getting the vExperts to know each other for the new vExperts that come into the program for 2025. And then April's vExpert Knowledge Hour is going to be with Frankie Bergon on my team, and it's going to be on how to pass your VCF VCP exam. And then finally, an email went out to vExperts this afternoon for a exclusive opportunity to work with the VMware events team on marketing materials for VMware Explore 2025 in Las Vegas.
Nice. Lots of activity. Feel like there's a lot of momentum going on all over the place. So that's great. Awesome. Okay, so Bob, anything else before we just give the mic to Miriam and talk a little bit about Call for Papers?
Nothing really on my plate. Had a good Matt Heldstab yesterday at the Wisconsin VMUG meeting. It was good to see him, and he was quizzing us on VCF certification stuff. So I need to go and do that. But for people that have used the products a little bit, I think it looks like it'll be all right. So
Bob, you're going to go into the VCP-VCF exam, and you're going to ace the security portion, and that's going to just carry you all the way through.
I know the guy that wrote a lot of those questions, so that part's all right. I've got that part covered.
Do you have the bobplankers.com VCF cheat sheet, spun up?
I don't. I'd love it if somebody else gave me a cheat sheet, but it'll be all right. People get freaked out by these exams and that, and I get it completely. But, after Matt quizzing us, he did a Kahoot thing yesterday, and it was pretty cool. I'd actually never done Kahoot either, and so that was kind of fun to do. But I think it'll be all right. So I'll schedule that when I'm back from spring break
And I would say there have been hundreds of people going to the various VMUG chapter meetings and UserCon, so it's been good. We've seen a lot of uptick there, and we also had the Netherlands UserCon last week. They had 500 people at the Netherlands UserCon, so that was a good one. And Explore announced their Explore European tour, so there's just a lot of momentum across the board when it comes to places to engage in the community. So, and with that. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. I was just going to say, it occurs to me too that I can, in this, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves here, but I can also do the certification exam at Connect as well.
Yes.
I believe.
Yes.
Maybe I'll just wait for that.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
Anyhow, let's move on.
All right. Let's go to Miriam Scoble, who runs the content strategy for Explore this year. So, as she does every year, the last few years. So, Miriam, great to have you on the show. You get 1 minute to tell us who you are and what you do at VMware.
Well, hi. Thanks for the great introduction and happy to be here. It's a pleasure. My name is Mariam Scoble. As Eric mentioned, I've been sitting on the content team as part of our global event team for the last 7 years. Lucky seven. This is the 8th year I am working on the content for our event coming up in Las Vegas, August 25th through 28th. And just yesterday, we launched CFP, Call for Proposals. So we are looking for your submissions.
That's great. That's great. I know that we've been sharing it on social, and I feel like this year a little bit more momentum in the community area space, because we do have the quick talks that are going to be happening, both on several different topics, whether it's the community topics or the code topics or Spring One topics or Spring topics, I guess I call it, plus sponsorships topics. We've always had that. Used to be V Brown Bag. Now I think the event team itself is running those kind of, where we get a little bit of mixture of partner, we get a little bit of mixture of community, we get a little bit of mixture of the code topics. And so, but the big one is that if you're an external participant in previous years, you didn't get a session pass, where this year I think the announcement is if you end up with a community topic and you're an external, not VMware employee, but external, there's going to be a badge involved, right?
Yes, so I do suggest everyone please read the submission guidelines. That's the first tip and the most important tip. We do talk about the tracks, the products, all the tags that you can use for your abstract and title. But most importantly, yes, past allocations. This year, more than any year, we want our community involved. This is for the community, by the community. So please add your voice and submit your proposals. Right smack in the middle of the hub, we're going to have two great, huge theaters for our quick talks, as Eric mentioned. There's going to be a bunch of sessions, so we're looking for those submissions. This is going to be for everyone, all the attendees. We're looking for those VMware codes for Spring One, for community quick talks, all of those. Please go ahead and submit them. But in addition to that, we do have a huge array of breakout sessions, tutorial sessions, meet the expert roundtables. So even for those, we are actually looking for your submissions. Levels technical 100 to 300 and business 100 and 200. So go ahead and get those submissions in. We are open until 5 p.m. Pacific, April 25th.
April 25th, great call out. And then we usually ask you, like, what are the tracks this year? What are the major categories? I don't know if you're still doing tracks or what the topic, swim lanes are. So maybe we should do a shout out to those. What are those?
Sure. We do have 4 main tracks this year. All the content in the Explore event would be aligned with these 4 main tracks. They're not different from last year. So cloud infrastructure, modern applications, networking, security, and load balancing, and innovation to top it all off. So 4 main tracks. There's a whole bunch of products. Again, submission guidelines would include all the session types, the lengths, the tips on how to submit sessions. We are looking for technical sessions. This is a user conference, again, for the community. So those technical sessions, demo packs are great, but any passion project you want to talk about, quick talks are great for those. VMware code sessions, Spring One sessions, and of course, all the VMware by Broadcom products.
Yeah, it's going to be good. I feel like there's just great momentum around VCF, and we're not allowed to talk about that. But Bob, you got a question?
I do have a question. Miriam, is there any type of content that you would like to see more of, that you need more of, that is underrepresented in what you get for submissions?
I wouldn't say underrepresented, but having read all the survey comments and having run focus groups with attendees, they really are looking for those best practices, tips and tricks,
Okay.
sessions that could help them improve their career. So technical sessions, demo sessions. They're not there to listen to you talk about the history of computer science. They want to know how they can better use our products or our vendor products to improve their careers and network with their peers. If there's something like, for example, I'm thinking about some sessions that were really, really top and popular, were sessions that talked about the 10 great things you need to know about VCF, or 10 best
Well,
things
and that's a
about
hack,
how to use
having
home
a
labs.
number in there. Yeah, and having a number in your title is kind of a hack,
Right.
to get to the top of the list, So I think I'll submit, exclamation point,
That is a hack. That is a hack.
111
You're
AAA
showing off
Bob's
the secrets.
security guidance. So
I
now
think
that
things
we've
that
told
people
everyone.
can
Phoebe,
just
if you're
take away
looking for
back and use.
submissions,
Sorry.
Go ahead, Gene.
I was going to say,
Go
I think
ahead,
real
Gene.
life, information they can take back and use in their environment when they go back to the office is, just like at VMUG, they want to be able to get useful information they can take right back to the job.
Very cool.
Thank you. I would say if you're a submitter, what we're looking for is, again, read the submission guidelines. There's a lot of tips and tricks in how to write a great abstract and write a great title. But there's an array of VMware by Broadcom products. Look at those products and tag appropriately. I would say have a peer review your title and abstract. Look for ways that you can help the attendees with their career. So put yourself in the place of an attendee and see, if you were attending this conference, what would you be wanting to spend your time in? Time is limited. Which session would you like to attend that would help you with your life, professionally, personally, and send those submissions in. We're looking for those. We have a content advisory committee, so we have internal and external reviewers for our content this year that would vote on all the sessions. Do not, and I repeat this, please do not send too many submissions of the same kind, meaning one submission where you submitted for each track, each product, each level. That doesn't help you. It does actually hurt you. But we are looking for your submissions and looking forward to it. And also, don't wait until 4 p.m. Pacific on April 25th to submit.
Yeah, I would say that's great advice, Miriam. And we've seen that as looking at all the community track submissions, right, over the time. I've seen instances where people submit 10 or 15 different paper ideas, and the paper ideas are you could tell they must have used ChatGPT and came up with a little description. And
oh my goodness,
it's like, by the time I get through 6 of them, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to accept any of these because this is such an annoying thing to have to read all of these, and you do have to read them all. So I think it does hurt you a little bit right now. Right. I have accepted ones where somebody submitted 10, and I look for the one that I could actually tell this person actually knew about that topic and had some valuable insight. But going crazy is just, I've seen that, and all it does is create a lot of work for us because we're smart. We can see what you know and what you don't, and we can Google authors as well. So when we're looking at some of the people, hey, let's go what their footprint looks like out there. Have they talked on these subjects before? Do they have some blogs or published topics around this? So we're smarter than just, oh, look, you submit 10 and you'll get 1, right? Like not necessarily. So that's
exactly. It's not the lottery. Yes. And another way to look at ways you can submit. Look at last year's on-demand library. The number of reviews for each session that got accepted is right there next to the session title. So you can look at the popular sessions, watch them, and see how our expert speakers are presenting. That would be another great way to see how you can submit a session that would be accepted. But like Eric, you said, our reviewers are smart, they are caring, they are concerned, they are looking for the best for the attendees. So please put yourself in the place of the attendee and submit a session you yourself and your peers want to be able to watch and listen to.
Yeah. Yeah, excellent. But thanks to everybody that goes through the trouble. I know not everybody gets a session, but all of them are read, right? And we do try to do the best we can. So, and we appreciate all the they do, right? Yep. All right. Well, Miriam, thanks a lot for all the work you do. It's exciting. What's the end date again? April
25th, 5 p.m. Pacific time.
5
so
p.m.
please,
do it before you go to Connect.
Submit those sessions.
So, make sure on April
eagerly awaiting.
Make sure on April 26th you submit one saying, "Oh, please, I'm sorry, just a little bit late." Because we love to get those. That's our favorite.
Bad Eric.
Exactly.
No.
That's my MO usually.
And I would
anybody on this call to, oh my goodness, I forgot.
Right. I would say that if you are talking about what you've done in your enterprise or what you've done personally in your deployment space, those are the ones that I look at and go, yeah, okay, here, this is one where they're actually just not talking about VCF again generically. They're actually talking about a use case that they actually ran, and maybe you had some problems and you overcame them. When I see those, I bump those to the top of the list, right? Because those are learning moments for the audience. So really love those guys. Yep.
Yeah, tips and tricks.
If you're working with a customer or partner and you have a compelling case study, we definitely want to see that. Also, I didn't mention, but the CFP link, the banner is live on our US Las Vegas Explore page. So please go ahead and check it out and submit those sessions. Again, we're open until 5 p.m. Pacific, April 25th, and we are eagerly awaiting your submissions. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, Marion, thanks a lot. Appreciate it. So we'll move on here. Yeah, great to always see you. Yep, for sure. So let's move on to our next topic. We have Gene Williams and Brad Tompkins on the show, and we're going to be talking about VMUG Connect in St. Louis. It's getting now we're like a month away, something like that. 23rd of April kickoff. So a lot of excitement there for Connect. We'll do a drive by. Gene, you get a minute. Introduce yourself and what do you do in the VMware ecosystem? How long have you been here? We'll do a minute with you and a minute with Brad, and then we'll get to Connect.
Hi, thanks, Eric. I'm Gene Williams. I manage the VMUG program here at Broadcom. I've been at VMware Broadcom going on 20 years. Started off, creating this wonderful user community back in 2005, and just working with Brad as we've migrated over to an independent organization. It's just been a fun journey.
Awesome. Yeah. And fun to spend all these years working together. Me and Gene have been pretty much here I've been here 19 years now. And I think you were here before me. So like what did you say? Nearly 20? Are you at the 20?
June will be 20. Yeah.
June will be 20. Fantastic. Make a note of that. All right.
Corey's right behind us.
yeah. We're all here.
18 for me.
18 years. It's great. All right, Brad, you get a minute.
All right, Brad Tompkins, Executive Director of VMUG. I've been doing, July will be 10 years for me doing VMUG Executive Director. So lots of fun. And it is just really an honor and a privilege to represent the VMUG community. Huge thanks to Jean, because she is the one that kind of got all this going. And so I owe her a ton for that. But I was in St. Louis yesterday doing a little pre-tour. We had a chapter meeting there. Very excited about Connect. Bob, thanks for throwing that up there. We're 35 days away. Still plenty of time for people to make arrangements and get your hotel room books and those sort of things. Of course, if you're an Advantage subscriber, you get a discount on that. But I'm sure we're going to dive into that later on. But I'm based out of Nashville, and everybody feel free to hit me up. You got my X handle on the screen here. My DMs are open, so that's a great way to get me if you need me.
All right. So just to give a little pre-brief of what Connect is, in my opinion, so Connect is the idea that, we have user cons in the Midwest region, and, we saw the need to maybe pull some of those together and have a slightly multi-day event where people in the Midwest and even the East could all come together and spend just not one day user con, but to have a multi-day event all focused around community and the topics that the community wants. And so we just got done with the user con in Amsterdam, where they had 500 people come together, and the Amsterdam user con charges for that environment, right? Where you pay some amount of money for the one day event. And so now Connect in St. Louis is about doing a multi-day event, right? Do some leadership training and bring everybody together. So is that a good summary of what VMUG is trying to accomplish with this multi-day event?
Yeah, exactly. So there was about 5 user cons that got collapsed into Connect, and it is a paid event. And so you mentioned Netherlands is paid, but this is kind of our first time with a multi-day paid event. And the idea came from really the members. They were telling us that, look, we want to go deeper. We want to have more content. And the thing that everybody loves about Explore is that hallway track. And it's hard to do that in a day. It certainly happens. So not discounting user cons, but to be able to do it at night, you're away from your job, you're away from your family obligations. So you really can take that opportunity to get to know your peers and, make those connections. And undoubtedly we talk tech, right? It doesn't matter if it's at the coffee shop or another beverage in the evening, whatever it is, we're going to talk tech. We're going to talk about what we're doing in our home labs, certainly going to talk about VCF, but it's great to have that kind of connection at Connect. See what I did there? And have people get together. So that's what the purpose is. Now, the reason this is different than a user con, and I get this question a lot, is really 2 things. It's quality and it's quantity. And what I mean by quality is, and again, I'm not taking away from the user con, but at this single event, I can't name all the speakers, but we've got Chris McCain, who is fresh off the Explore stage in Barcelona and Las Vegas, William Lamb, Frank Denneman, we're flying him in from the Netherlands, Hock Tan's going to be there. So at a one-day event, we're not going to have rock stars like that, on stage. So that content is going to be there. We also have a paid speaker, Pablos Homan, which is going to be fantastic. He's not going to talk about VCF, but he's really going to entertain and inspire you and wow you. And so that's some of the differences there. Bob touched on this earlier, but the ability to get certified is happening there as well. So there'll be proctored exams. So you can leave Connect with a certification. And if you are an Advantage member, then you can do that certification for free. So Advantage is $210, certification is $250. So it doesn't take a math genius to figure out, you will more than make your money back by getting your certification. And that VCF, that VCP VCF certification is very important. Like, everybody needs to get that certification. And I'll tell you this, it's not as difficult as it used to be. And that doesn't take away from the value of the certification. But let's face it, you really don't need to know, what's the max configuration on something. We look that stuff up. What we want to know is, do you understand the concepts behind virtualization, behind VCF, behind automation, and really behind how do you run your business like a cloud with a cloud operating model? You can run your business just like the hyperscalers do, but you can do it on-prem, you can do it on VCF. And the good news is you can do it in a familiar UI that you've been doing for 2 decades. So it's a no-brainer. You need to work with Kubernetes and containers? No problem. VCF can handle that. You need AI workloads? No problem. VCF can handle that. You need to expand out to hyperscalers? No problem. VCF can handle that. So I think the bulk of our members are very interested in keeping things on-prem, and this is a great way to do it. So go get those certifications. Come to Connect. If you're an Advantage member, it's $375. So that saves you like another $125. So Connect is a great way to immediately get ROI from your VMUG Advantage subscription.
Yeah, I feel like this is, and Bob, I'll let you go next, but I'll just say, I feel like this is a shot in the arm for your career, right? Like I feel like Connect and career takes you where honestly, VMware is making a resurgence, right? Like if you look at what's actually happening in the data center, in AI, and in just moving workloads back into the data center from the cloud, and then tying it all together with VCF, it is becoming something significant. And I've had a lot of community guys come going, "Hey, I'm coming back. I kind of was turned off a little bit when the Broadcom acquisition happened. Now I'm coming back because I see the VCF traction." What is VCF? VCF is basically running vSphere, NSX, and vSAN all together in a little hypervisor environment, right? And we've all kind of, me included, kind of shied away from vSAN and NSX, right? Because it was this mysterious thing that I just was afraid to. But when I actually did the training, I went, oh, this is really easy. This is just hypervisor with some extra VMs running, some little bit of software. And you realize it's very consumable. And all of a sudden, William Lamb comes back and says, oh, and by the way, you can put this whole thing on a NUC. So he's going to be at Connect with a NUC, showing you how to run VCF, the whole thing on a single NUC under $900 NUC or $850 NUC. He's going to have them there. We're going to raffle off a couple. And all of a sudden, in the days where I just needed to learn vSphere and ESXi and, with vCenter, and that's just what I used, we're now taking it to the next level where you go, no, it's really just one more step forward, and you're going to be able to run this all on a NUC, play with it at home, and all of a sudden your salary went up by $20K because there's a resurgence in the data center. Bob, I don't know if I'm, making it all too simple, but I feel like that's where we're headed.
No,
Connect is there for that.
You're on the right track, and I like, I know there's some grievance around the user cons that have been collapsed into this, like, hey, it was nicer to have more local things in some cases, but you're right. There's a gravity to having them more centrally. You can get more high level speakers. You can have better conversations. The hallway track, frankly, and I see Miriam is gone. I don't want to say this out in front of her, but the hallway track is the thing. Sessions, there were whole years when I was a customer, there were whole years where I really didn't go to a session at Explore. I was there to talk to people, meet VMware people, ask them questions, all that sort of stuff, and not just see a presentation. I can watch all that stuff in the library later, but yeah, so I'm excited about Connect. I'll come down, and I just think there's a lot going on, and I think it'll be interesting to see how well this model is accepted. I'm hoping it's very well, because I'm hoping it persists. And Eric, to your point, well, Brad, to your point too, people are bringing stuff back from the cloud. The uncertainty of this whole Broadcom acquisition is starting to clear. There was fog there, and it's starting to burn off, and people can see where we're at. And the hypervisor is still there. The vSphere and love is still underneath everything, but we've got all that management stuff now too. It's not enough to just have things in an enterprise. You need to know what they are. You need to know if they're secure. You need to know how they're running. Those are all the questions the business wants to know. And so I like that's where we're headed. We're really, especially VCF, the sort of promise of VCF all along here is really starting to get fulfilled with 9 and moving forward. So I don't know. I'm excited about Connect.
So Gene, I got to ask you, like back in 2019, 2018, 2017, at Explore, we had the community underground people run a day before the event, kind of like a, hey, get together. And I know that you've been working with Brad and crew to try to bring a little bit of that back. Do you want to take us through what you're going to be doing the day before?
Yeah, we're going to be doing what VMUG is calling a pre-conference. It's going to happen on Wednesday, the 23rd from 12 to 4. It's more of a birds of a feather, unconference type of format, more casual. We're going to be covering a couple topics on AI and VCF. So come and bring your questions that you have on those topics, and we're going to just sit as a community, discuss those questions, and we'll have some experts from VMware, Broadcom there to help facilitate any of those questions that maybe the community still has questions on that they're not able to answer amongst themselves. So it should be another fun way to kind of kick off the event.
That gets us like I hate to fly anywhere, but now if I'm going to fly there, If I come in on Wednesday, if I fly Wednesday, I usually can get to there by noon, something like that. If I'm on the West Coast, I take an early flight. If you're on the East Coast, you take a medium flight, get in by noon on Wednesday. Then there's this unconference that you can kind of hang out and chat with all the community members on the topics and kind of get revved up on, what you want to get out of the show, talk to everybody. And these unconferences, birds of feather sessions are, you put white stickers up on the whiteboards, you aggregate the topics and everybody talks about them, and you guys are going to have somebody there that'll kind of manage the conversation and maybe give some deeper dive on the topics when there's a lot of questions that need to be answered. But that's kind of like, we did that in the underground the day before. I think it was usually a Saturday. We used to have those where community guys get together and actually have these conversations. So I feel like that's going to be another piece of, this is kind of precursor to Explore, but it's also more community focused, and an unconference at a community event like that kind of brings that back, right? Where we're actually having fun conversations on AI topics and of course VCF, right? So neat. Brad, what else are we doing on Wednesday? What about the leadership stuff? I know you're doing some leadership training for some of those. A lot of leaders going to be there.
Yes, they are. So we're doing the Leader Summit, which many people have been able to participate in the past. We've done it at Palo Alto a few times. We did it at Lisbon last, and now we're bringing it to St. Louis. And so about 60 of the local leaders are going to be there a couple days early, and we're going to train the leaders. And this is not going to be tech training. And if you're not a leader, this is still important. It's not going to be tech training. It's going to be training on how you get your local chapter maybe, reinvigorated, maybe get one going or continue to grow it, because that's the magic of VMUG, right? I mean, VMUG membership is free. So attending these local meetings are free. And so that's something that we want to make sure that we get back going. We're coming off a couple years of COVID and, a couple years really of the Broadcom changes. And Bob, you're right, that has settled down. And it's amazing when I talk to leaders. I go to most all the user cons. So when I talk to members and leaders and people just mingling in that hallway track, the conversation is definitely, yes, we looked at alternatives and we realized we don't want to go anywhere. We want to stick with VMware. Everybody agrees it's the best. Conversation about licenses and costs and those kind of things are still happening. But what's happening is the budget cycles are catching up. So people are like, okay, I know what it is. Some people had their ELA renewed right before the acquisition. So they had a couple of years to plan for this. And now people are talking about tech. And a huge thing was 5.2 being released. People were very excited about things like live patching, brownfield ingestion, those kind of things. And now 9.0 is coming very soon. And, y'all talked about that at Explore last year. There's some exciting things about that. So we're excited to learn more about 9.0 and more about the technology that we grew up with and that we love and we want to continue using.
Yeah, what the evolution of that is. Yeah, and so, it's just techs want to tech, and even yesterday at the Wisconsin VMUG meeting or whatever, there were presentations and then there was all the stuff in between, and it's just that, and the stuff in between, sitting eating pizza and asking people questions and that, just that back and forth is really important. So I'm really glad to see bringing it back, trying to, and again, having that gravity, even though, change is always hard for people, having the gravity, having everyone in one place for, and having a bigger event is really cool. All I took from what you said, Gene, is that I need to adjust my hotel reservation is what it amounts to.
Yeah.
So, get down there on Wednesday.
Yeah.
What time is that starting at a particular time on Wednesday?
At 12 o'clock.
Okay. 12 noon.
Oh, yep. Very cool. So I could drive down in the morning.
Yeah. And it's because they're informal, they're conversational, you can drop in at 1 whenever you get in, right? Yeah. We'll be there. We'll be, eating beer and pretzel. Well, some pretzels, little soda.
Eric, fear of missing out, man. What if I miss something?
We hope a lot
what
of
if somebody asks a security question,
Yeah. And then Brad, I think there's some informal thing going on Wednesday night as well, like some gathering, like I don't know if it's a leadership thing or people are getting together. I don't want to get in trouble with that, right? So
we do have a leader reception, so that's not for everybody, but that is for the leaders. So there'll be a bunch of people there. So if you are coming in early and you're not part of the leadership summit, there's ways that
we'll get
people.
Let me just clarify, Brad. So is Tuesday night the leader reception after the board meeting, or is it actually Isn't Wednesday kind of the pre-conference reception, or am I not right?
No, you're right. You're right. So Wednesday night is the conference opener. So that is it. That's for anybody that's there.
All right. Well, there you go. So Wednesday, birds of a feather during the day, right? And then Wednesday evening, an open. That's why I don't want to get myself in trouble, right? Because I'm also confused. So yeah, okay. So Wednesday night, you come in Wednesday noon, fly in 1, whatever, come by, eat some pretzels and soda, talk tech. It's going to be open, conversational. People are going to be around. You get to socialize while you're talking tech. Going to be fun. And then in the evening, a kickoff party. So then we go Thursday, Friday. Keynote. Hawk closes out, I think, in the afternoon on Friday. So that should be just a great event. And to my Brad, to your point of, hey, customers have gotten used to, the idea that Broadcom's here and they're getting over the licensing thing. I think what it is, I think it's because nobody told the community team that there was anything wrong with Broadcom. So we just went full steam the whole time, right? Like we just been going. And I think people realize that, hey, you know what? The community team didn't get the memo that Broadcom was not a good place. And we're just going, and we just been going. And eventually you just go, I don't know. I think the community team is just my Broadcom translator, right? They just talk Broadcom. So I just talk to community, and then, and we just have a good time. And, FOMO is happening throughout the ecosystem. Like we were everybody's best friends, and everybody's best friends with us. And so, coming to Connect, you're just going to connect with everybody, right? And the reality is there's tech, there's learning, but there's also just relationships, right? Everybody's still around, and it's going to be fun.
And the relationships are key. I mean, that, we all have jobs and we all have work, but, doing it with friends and people that you know and that you can call on. They could be anywhere in the world. Hey, I'm having this issue. I remember a conversation at Connect that you were, somehow got over this to help me out. Those are invaluable.
And then I think this really sets up well for Explore, because there's going to be some pre information that you're going to learn about, but it's not going to be everything, because everything's not quite done yet, right? So there, nothing I think for the next version of VCF is going to be released, but I think it's going to set the tone for what you're going to get exposed to, and then it's going to make you want to come to Explore, right? I mean, in the end, I think this is going to be a lot of fun for everybody, and then it's going to be one of these things where you're going to get excited about everything you do get to learn, and then you're going to want to come to Explore to deep dive on the released products, right? So I think it's actually a good warm up. It's kind of like a tutorial for getting your career back on track with VMware. So I like it. I think it's going to be
absolutely. And this is not intended to be a replacement for Explore. You cannot replace Explore. I mean, it's awesome. You got 10,000 people there, to probably closer to 15 this year, with the collapsing all into one event. And, you just can't beat, a 4-day event with thousands of people. It's a fantastic event. So VMUG, of course, will be at Explore. And what's nice this year is we've been working with the Explore team, about our involvement. We've had multiple meetings already about that. So it's great, to have that kind of insight. And just to kind of, plug what Miriam said, speaking at Explore is really an honor. So definitely put your call for papers in. Some of you might not be too warmed up to that idea, but user cons and local chapter meetings is a great place to kind of skin your knees and get that going. I still love that quote by Alan Renoff, where he said, he tweeted it right after he was on main stage. He said, I just walked off main stage at VMworld back then. And he said, something similar to, if you're ever thinking about doing this, I got started at a user con and now I just walked off main stage. Pat Gelsinger was there. So, that is amazing. And let me tell you, those soft skills, you got the tech skills, and you're going to go get certified. So you're going to have a badge that says, yes, I know my tech stuff. But to run the cloud operating model, the two more difficult pieces are the people and the process. And so by being able to speak and understanding your audience and doing those kind of things helps you be a champion in your company to adopt the model. Many conversations at user cons are like, I'm the vSphere admin. I'm all on board for this. How do I get my networking and my storage team? You got to break down those silos. You got to make sure that everybody is running from the same playbook. And that's a little bit different than what we grew up with. So you can be the champion of your company and get your company to a cloud operating model that will show dividends, and your career will take off.
Yeah, the ability to communicate in general that's the next step. Being a tech is one thing, but you're right. I talk about security and compliance stuff all the time. And that's what I say. These are not technical problems. They're people and process problems. And I got started presenting at VMUGs, the Wisconsin VMUG, 15, 20 years ago, whenever it started. My goodness, meeting out in the middle of nowhere, Wisconsin. And it was great. There were more cows around us than people at one point for some of those meetings. And, but yeah, you get familiar with presenting. The first one's always tricky, like you got a lot of ums and ahs and all that stuff. And then you get a feel for it. You're no longer nervous in front of people. And then you can start to read the room. You can start to answer questions. You can start to do all kinds of stuff, tell jokes. Telling jokes is a great strategy for breaking the ice too. So yeah, you're right, Brad.
The other thing that happens at a Connect conference, which I think we all feel a little bit less micromanaged, right? In that we can talk a little bit more freely about, even in the session topics, right? Like when you get community sessions, and I talked to William Lamb for 2 hours yesterday, and we're talking about the Nooks and vSphere 9 running on the Nooks and 8 running on, just going through the whole thing that we're going to have at Connect, right? And what we're going to be able to demo and talk about. And it's just you get a little bit more chatty, when you're at a community event. And I think that's exciting. And we were just talking about how the new Nooks, and I'm going to get geeky here again, the new Nooks that have the AMD processor have a really powerful GPU. So when you buy one of these $900 Nooks, it has a GPU on board, and you can actually do AI model generation using the GPU on the Nook. The GPU is a screamer. And so like this is where you go like, hey, how many of you have actually done RAG-based model computing? Have you ever set that up? Have you ever done some of that work? And those are the kind of conversations you can get to have when you're collaborating with a bunch of people on, on fun projects.
Well, and that speaks to advancing your career and things like that. A lot of organizations want to use this stuff. They're AI curious, and how do you do that? The fact that you can do it, you can maybe do it in some of the infrastructure you've got, and that's stuff and you talk to somebody that's been playing around with it, and you take that back. And so, yeah, there's something different about being able to be in a place with people for a little while and just transfer of knowledge, have an organic conversation. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, 9. I hear you're gonna need to upgrade your home lab gear. Like you're gonna want one of those little AMD Nooks with 24 cores, and
Are we hardware vendors now, Eric?
Half a terabyte of memory. Well, we were talking about like maybe we do a buyers club, right? Where we
William's organized that in the past, and
me and William were talking about that. I talked to Brad about it. Like maybe we have a little buyers club so that when you want to get your Nook, instead of $875, we get it for $699, right? If we commit X number of units. And so
if you're going to buy 4 of them, and you can get a discount, it kind of pays. You buy 3 and get 1 free, what the heck?
Right. Well, we're thinking about committing to like 50 or 100, like a larger number on that. But then, that's where you get some buying capabilities, which is what community is about, right? It reminds me of the community buyer club, right? Where you can, I don't think it was called the community buyer club, but it was something like that. And in the end, you get the power of the community to actually, spend some time building out. So we're going to be talking about that at Connect, right? So there's some really cool topics that we wouldn't necessarily be able to do at an Explore, right? Because there are some guardrails that show up at Explorer that when you're doing birds of a feather on these type of topics, and we got Code Labs there running that. It's going to be fun. Yeah.
Well, and Explorer is just more structured too. There's a lot going on, and so having some of the pressure off, that's nice. The ability for me to wander around at Connect, I'm looking forward to that.
So Brad, talk about jump-starting your career. I hear that Pat Gelsinger's available. Maybe we should, do a reach out and go, hey, come back to VMUG.
I think Pat's doing all right. I imagine he's hanging out with his grandkids, living the good life. He deserves it.
Hardware buyers club, right? We can get that. Oh wait, I was talking AMD though. Maybe too soon.
Yeah, can it really be a Nuke if it's AMD? Because that was an Intel.
It was an Intel brand, so yeah, they're all calling them microservers, and but I treat that like Xerox. I feel like they just lost control.
Phoenix,
yeah. Where's You make a Xerox. You don't make a copy. You get a Nook. You don't get a micro server, right? Like
what kind of Coke would you like? Yeah.
Not only that, but who'd they sell that brand to? They sold it to like, the Chinese laptop maker. I forget the name.
Lenovo?
Yeah, they sold it to Lenovo. So
oh, did they? Okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna get a cease and desist letter from Lenovo next week on stop using our Nook brand on your podcast.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, but just the ability to cram so much compute. I mean, we've had in just a little space, and make it mobile, and that we've got projects where we've, running the stuff, a lot of the edge stuff that we've done, running it out of the trunk of a police squad car, and for video recording, and that's insane. That's crazy talk, So.
Yeah, it is crazy talk. So, Brad, as we come up, we still got a little bit of time left here, but let's talk through the details again, because I know people pay attention and people don't rewind. Advantage discount for Connect. What's the pricing on Connect? Early bird on Connect. Take us through what I get to. When do I have to sign up in order to get the early bird discount? What do I got to do to buy to get the Advantage discount, etc. Here, what does the pricing look like?
So if you're an Advantage subscriber, it's $375. There's no time limit on that. You can sign up the day before and you still get the $375 price. And so that's something to take advantage of. The regular price on that, I believe I probably need to find that, but I think it's like $450 or $549.
$549 for the conference, but Advantage, if you have your Advantage membership active, you're going to get it for $395. Is that what you said?
$375.
$375. That's cheap. All right. Awesome.
Yeah. Well, it looks like you can buy. You guys have got it's $564 if you get your Advantage membership and pay for the conference pass.
That's
Which
almost like
comes with all of the licenses and all that stuff too. So really
so you can bundle that up together and get your Advantage and your pass. And sometimes that works out well, especially if you're billing this back to your company. Just go ahead and get both, because your company's going to see that value immediately. Again, especially if you're going to get a discount on the price for Connect, but B, you can go get your cert for free. So those two things right there will pay for it.
Because you get your cert, you get all that bundled, you get the VCF license for free, right? Like if you do all this at that $500 price, you get your certification, you get your conference paid for, and you get the full VCF stack, a $20,000 license package for 3 years, right? Like
once you pass your test.
What a deal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Gene, with the caveat there, you got to pass, but can you retake it? If you fail the first time, can you retake it like the second day at the conference? Do you guys know?
Yes, you can. It won't be free, but you can take it.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. So if you retake it, there's
there is a study guide or a study group that
Frankie's doing, right?
Yeah. So those are done, but they're on record. They're on VMUG's website. People can go back and get prepared to take that test when they go on site.
Remember, you only need a D to pass. I'm
cocky. I'm just going to YOLO it and see what happens, So, yeah.
So I do know people that have done that with no prep and they passed. And they knew vSphere, but they didn't know vSAN or NSX. I mean, they knew of it, of course. But
I think vSphere is probably 60% of the test, anyways, right? Is that correct? So if you pass with that knowledge, that might be sufficient.
Yes, you're going to pass.
And something Matt said yesterday is that there's a lot of common sense there too. You read the question, don't freeze up, read the question, and the answer in many cases will be pretty clear.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I say. Honestly, I haven't heard of a single person that has failed. But I've heard a lot of people.
Well, I don't want to be the first one you've heard about. So
right, I was going to say, Bob,
don't make people feel bad. They have to do it twice, Eric.
Hey, I failed my VCP the first time. I never used iSCSI, and it was one of those things, or NFS really, and it drilled down into it, and I don't know any of these answers, and I failed by like 4 questions.
Yeah,
and I just went back again.
That's when your head starts to spin a little bit, when you get in one of those little question traps, and you get dizzy and you pass out, and then you fail the test because you timed out because you look.
Maybe be sitting down if you pass out.
Have a panic attack, right? No, but it's straightforward. Haven't heard anybody fail it yet. And we got Frankie's course where you're going to get that. And my point is, $500 and X, you get the VMUG Advantage conference pass roll up, and you sit through the test. And I think the test is only like 2 hours. It's not very long, right? So it's not like you're killing a whole day. You go into the test, you pass your tests, then you go online, and within a day, you've got your VCF licenses for your home lab.
Yeah, I was going to ask, is that just automatic then? When you pass, you get upgraded so that you've got your licenses? Okay.
Yep. It gets marked in your.
You don't have to go DM Brad and Brad, can I have my licenses, please?
Now, the only thing I would say, we're going to produce a blog article on this, is if your email address for VMUG does not match your email address for the certification exam, you have to send mail to advantage.vmug.com and ask them to change your email address, or we will post on a blog. You can send Broadcom email, depending on what region you're in. We'll have 3 different emails, APJ, EMEA, and US. You can ask them to change your email address, and they will also make that change. So you can decide which email address you want to go with. And then if those 2 don't match, if they match, you're immediately, as soon as your status goes flagged in at VMUG that you've got your advantage and you've passed the test, you come into the Broadcom portal, you'll get an email saying, congratulations, you passed the test, and it'll give you the perfect instructions on where to go get your bits, and you go in there and click a few times, and it orders your bits, orders your product. You get mail from the order system. It can thank you for buying it, even though it was free. And then within a day, it says, okay, we've delivered your product. Go here to pick it up.
No, that'll be nice. Well, and Corey, I think, was saying last week or a week before that, having your vExpert email and your VMUG email and your Broadcom support,
all be the same.
Be the same is incredibly helpful. So,
yep.
Right, Corey?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, and that works. And then for those employees that are listening, none of this works for you. Sorry. Welcome to Broadcom. If you're a Broadcom employee, you can go. We will publish in the blog article where you can go to your free 1-year license. But the Advantage program and the whole certification program does not get you bits. Doesn't get you the bits. They look. However, if you don't have a Broadcom email address, then you can go get your bits, right? But if you have a Broadcom email address, it says, sorry, you do not qualify.
No love.
No free.
Well, you can get love from BuildWeb, yes. But
yes, that's right.
Yeah.
And
all of mine is set to because I've been doing this for so long, I'm just bob@plankers.com across all of this stuff, and so I'm hoping that
yes, that's
a blind eye is turned my way. Yes. So.
Yeah, that I am going to change my email address to my own private email address so that I can go get my Advantage bits. Because there is an advantage to the Advantage program. The Advantage will allow you to get licensed year after year. I think the employee one does as well. So we're rat holding. I think it's about the same. I think you get more core count on the Advantage, or we should say 128 core VCF license. I think the employee one is significantly smaller. So
the way core counts are going too, that's 4 hosts, right? 32 core is a host. So that'll be nice. Yeah,
that'll be great. Brad, vmug.com, go there, join your chapter. What else do we need to tell people? People that listen this long probably are just a fanboy of Brad or Gene, one of the two. So what else we got?
Well, a couple things. We're always looking for new leaders. So if you want that opportunity, you can go to vmug.com and sign up. The other thing is partners, and VMUG membership is for Broadcom employees, it's for end users, and it's for partners. And partners play a key role. And with the Broadcom changes, the partner importance is extremely high now, because your level 1, level 2 is going to probably start coming from partners. There's some exceptions if you're strategic or whatever. But for the general rule, your level 1, level 2 is going to come from partners. And when we did a survey, they said the top 3 things preventing them from VCF was cost, complexity, and skills gap. And your partner can help you with all 3 of those. There's some negotiation tactics in there. Again, I tell everybody, get a price for VCF. Even if you think you're just going to do VVF, get that VCF price, because there's a lot of members that price was just negligible higher. And they're like, well, we might as well go ahead and get it all. And so that's what they've done. So if you're a partner out there, contact me. We need you in front of our VMUG members. We can help your business, but we can also, we're trying to connect up the good partners with our good end users to say, okay, they need help getting this deployed, and partners, you're the one to do that. So there's a few speaking opportunities left at Connect. There's certainly opportunities to have a booth in the exhibit hall. So we're looking at you, sponsors and partners out there, to come help us out and help get that story out there so people can feel comfortable about buying VCF, because they know that setup can be done by somebody that does this all day, every day. We've got day 2 operations and on. So my opinion, outsource getting it set up. It's going to be set up right, especially you might not be that up to speed on NSX and vSAN and those kind of things. So outsource that piece. And we need to know those partners out there that are good at doing that. There's still a lot of partners out there, but again, it's very important what partner you pick as an end user, because you're going to be working with them a lot on your VCF installment. And I mentioned we've got some room left, so reach out to me if you're interested. Some of our partners now are Valley Cyber, NetApp, Pure Storage, Integra, Wheela. So, and then there's more in there as well. So that's kind of my call to action for the partners out there to get involved in VMUG. And again, even if you're not sponsoring, go be a member, go to the local meetings. You can wear your company shirt and those kind of things. Be part of the conversation, because your input is extremely valuable.
Good call out. Good call out. Love the partner ecosystem, and they're just people. They're part of the community, right? And they're engaging, and they help do chapter meetings, and so show them some love. And I would say love in general. If you're not an Advantage member because you just don't need the discount, not going to come. I would argue, and I argue this quite a bit, that like you should be an Advantage member just to support the community, right? You guys are .org, you're a nonprofit, and we'd like you to have an Advantage member, because you that helps. That's $200 a year that goes to all the great things that we get to do. So buy a membership, come to Explore, come to get the Explore discount, come to Connect, get the Connect discount, get your license discount, or just buy it because you know what? You support all of us doing these cool things.
And there's a reason we harp on and on and on about labs and home labs and stuff like that. Exactly what Brad was just what you were saying was that, like if people want to learn this stuff, learn how to do it, learn how to try it. What better way is there than a lab environment? Whether you've got a lab at work, which is nice, or it's something you do at home, like something that you can accidentally destroy and not feel bad about it, and not get yelled at by your boss, like that's, I never, there hasn't been a week that goes by since I started at VMware that I think to myself, the questions that I'm being asked, if you just tried it somewhere, you'd understand it, and so, yeah, very powerful. But partners are really important as well. And there's help out there. Everyone wants you to be successful. And so cool. That's all I've got.
Yeah,
I was
that's
going to do another plug for the Connect event. We have like over 40 sessions going on, a lot of deep dive sessions. It's not just Broadcom, it's our community presentations, it's our partner presentations. We have hands-on, instructor-led hands-on lab sessions going on throughout the event, a lot of professional development sessions. We have Ask Me Anything sessions with William Lamb. We have some prep certification courses, classes taking place there as well. So just a wealth of information for our members to come out and join us in St. Louis, April 23rd to the 25th.
Looking forward to it. But will you have barbecue?
And
Eric,
will
there be barbecue?
There will be barbecue, and there will be.
End of every show here is a discussion of barbecue.
We will solve that. We're going to get a couple big pigs. I hear they got a lot of pigs out in the Midwest these days. We'll organize a hunt, and we'll go get some of those wild feral pigs, and then barbecue them up. And
those feral pigs are nasty. Those are serious invasive species.
A little gamey.
We would be doing the world and the ecosystem, and getting rid of a non-native species. I think that's a green kind of initiative.
Yes. Even if they are a little gamey, a good rubble.
Get out our helicopters and 20-06s and go for some helicopter rides, and then have a big smoke and barbecue at the end of it. It's going to be happening.
So you guys probably don't know this, but my family is actually from Missouri, and my uncle used to have a huge pig farm out there. Not that I've ever been to it. I mean, I've been out there, but I haven't been in there. My dad used to scare me about falling in with all the hogs when he was young.
But it does bring a good question, Brad. Is there going to be a party, or are there going to be I know there's the opening thing Wednesday night. Is that it?
No, multiple parties. So the opening one, I was there yesterday, is going to be at Anheuser-Busch. That facility is amazing. We've got the beer garden. The Clydesdales are going to be there.
The actual
Bob's going to get to ride the Clydesdale down into St. Louis to kick off the event. Okay, maybe that last part's not true.
All right, a little bit.
I'll do it. You just tell me where to be. I'll be there.
But and then the next night we're going to have a reception at the Expo Hall, and so that'll get you going well. We're going to feed you well. We're going to have plenty of entertainment for you on top of the fantastic speakers like a Frank, a William, a Chris, and of course Hawk Tan, and many others as well. There's so many sessions on there. I mean, the page goes on forever with all the sessions and all the speakers. So check out vmug.com, and it's /connect. /VMUG-Connect, and you can see everything on there. You can navigate it from the homepage, so it's not that difficult.
You can't miss it. VMUG.com.
I think it pops up right when you
go. Yeah, you can't miss it. Yeah.
And a little teaser on the Hawk thing. So we did this with Hawk Fireside Chat in the Netherlands, and Joe Bagley was the one that was interviewing him. And it wasn't about tech; it was about Hawk, and it was so fascinating learning his career history. What he's done, some of the companies he worked for, some of them were not doing good financially, and he was the CFO, and he talked about that a little bit. And Chris McCain was there too. So it was Joe, Chris, and I all talking afterwards. And Chris was like, Chris is the one that's going to be interviewing Hawk. And he's like, man, I want to ask that question. So Joe and Chris, kind of collaborated, and he gave him his notes and those kind of things. So it was really fascinating hearing that. And I tell you, Hawk Tan's an impressive individual.
If you're listening to this at the end of the podcast, you should buy a ticket, get there, because Hawk does these coffee talks, and I show up in the gym every quarter. I don't miss him, and I never would go to a coffee talk or an all hands. It's the last thing I want to go do. But that guy is fascinating. Yeah, Hawk,
he's direct. He'll give you an answer. There's no, and you might not like the answer, but he's direct, and it's really interesting. Everyone thinks that these guys were just formed out of nowhere and have these skills. It's interesting that you mentioned this, Brad, because he had a learning curve too. What was it? So
right.
That's really cool.
It's good. All right. We're past the hour, so we're going to wrap it up. Everybody go get some barbecue, and we'll see everybody again next week. We got podcast scheduled out for the next 2 months. Shout out to Julia Klaus, who's reached out to everybody to get us some guests every month for the next 3 months. So appreciate all that, and go get some barbecue and have a great weekend.
Thanks
y'all for having me.
Thank you.
Bye.